Andy's father, Mr. Davis, he is Andy and Molly Davis's father, a character who is never shown or referenced on screen in the Toy Story films. He appears visually in exactly one scene across all four mainline films, a brief moment in the 1995 original where he walks behind Andy during the birthday party setup, his face never shown, his voice never heard, his name never spoken on screen. He is never depicted or referenced and serves no narrative function in any film. Across all films, only Andy's mother is shown as a parent, with no reference to a father. What makes this remarkable is that the surname Davis is used for Andy's mother, and referenced with Andy and Molly, but no father character is acknowledged on screen. He is unacknowledged in dialogue and never participates in any events shown in the films. Over the course of four mainline films spanning 25 years of narrative time, the total runtime devoted to this character is under 10 seconds. Andy's mother, by contrast, is a consistent on-screen presence across the Andy-era trilogy. She has dialogue in every film featuring Andy. She drives the moving truck in Toy Story 3. She is the one who delivers the emotional goodbye at daycare. Her face is visible, her voice is audible, and she functions as a plot-moving device. Her children know her name, respond to her directly, and interact with her emotionally. She's the only parent in the original trilogy who exists as anything more than a silhouette in the background of a scene. The contrast between these two characters is not subtle. This matters because the Toy Story films are deeply concerned with what it means to be seen, to have your inner world acknowledged. The toy's entire existence depends on being perceived as alive by their child. Andy's father fails that test in the story world the same way he fails it in the narrative structure. He is non-existent in the on-screen world. A father character is simply absent from all on-screen depiction and reference. The films never introduce him as a character, visually or in story. Subscribe and tell us in the comments which Toy Story parent you think was the most poorly treated. Let's get back into it. Andy's mother, Mrs. Davis. If Andy's father represents one kind of parental failure, total narrative erasure despite physical presence, his wife represents its opposite, the parent who is too visible, too functional, and ultimately too incidental to the story's actual emotional architecture. She is Andy and Molly's mother, and she appears in all three Toy Story films set during Andy's childhood. The 1995 original, the 1999 sequel, and the 2010 third film. Her face is shown, her voice is heard, and she has more spoken lines than any other adult character across those three movies combined. She is, on paper, the more present parent. Her role is consistently instrumental. In Toy Story, she organizes Andy's birthday party, field calls Woody about the family dinner, and moves the toys into the new room when she redecorates. The redecorating being the event that triggers the entire Buzz Lightyear conflict. In Toy Story 2, she is present at the yard sale where Wheezy is nearly sold, and her off-screen decision to have an Alaskan cruise drives the sequence where Woody gets left behind. In Toy Story 3, she's the driver of the moving truck heading to Sunnyside Daycare, and the character who gives Andy the final instruction to sort through what he is taking to college. Every major plot point in the Andy trilogy passes through her decisions. She is the hinge on which the story turns. What is notable is what she never does. Despite being the only adult with sustained screen presence across three films, she is never established as a character with a name spoken in dialogue, a personal history, a visible relationship with Andy that goes beyond surface instruction, or a moment that belongs to her rather than to the toy's crisis. The viewer learns nothing about her work, her feelings about Andy growing up, her perspective on the chaos that keeps unfolding in her household. When the family moves house in Toy Story 3, she is present as a logistical fact. Get the box, load the truck, read the map. Not as a person processing that Andy's childhood is ending. She processes nothing. She functions. Defenders would point out that these are toy-centered films, that the human world is necessarily reduced to broad strokes, that a deeper characterization of a supporting parent would pull focus from the actual protagonist. Toys. The argument has surface logic. The problem is that the films already demonstrate they can do better. Sid's mother, introduced in the first film, has more texture, more personality, and a more memorable presence in her single film than Mrs. Davis manages across three. Sid's mother is established through specific behavioral details: her hair, her clothing, her kitchen, her patience with a destructive child, her obliviousness to what is happening in her son's room. Mrs. Davis has none of that. She is the adult who appears when the toys need a reason to be in crisis, and she exits the frame when the toy's story needs room. The condition under which the ordinary explanation, that the films simply focus on the toys, would be fully true is that all human characters would receive equally thin treatment. They do not. Andy has a mother who functions and a father who is barely there. Sid has a mother with personality and a father who is absent. The unevenness is not a side effect of the toy focus. It is a specific narrative choice about whose inner lives matter and who serve as plot machinery. Mrs. Davis drives every major transition in Andy's story while remaining unknown to the viewer, and the reason it works is that she was never intended to be seen as a person. She was intended to be the reason the toys have something to fear every time. This reveals something about the larger system the films operate within. The Toy Story trilogy is structured around a series of goodbyes. Goodbye to the cowboy era, goodbye to Andy's room, goodbye to Andy himself, and the emotional weight of each goodbye is carried entirely by Andy and the toys. No adult character is asked to share in that grief, to articulate it, or to validate it. Mrs. Davis moves the boxes, drives the truck, and tells Andy to grow up, and the audience is not permitted to see her as someone who might also be grieving. The system protects the child's emotional journey by reducing every adult to a logistical necessity. That is not a failure of characterization. It is the operating principle of the entire filmmaking approach applied consistently enough that a parent who is present in every Andy-era scene can feel absent from the story itself. Sid's mother, she recedes further than Andy's mom ever did, and her absence from the household is the structural reason the entire first film's plot is even possible, while Andy's mother affected one child's emotional trajectory. Sid's mother shapes everything within her orbit. Sid, Hannah, and every toy that crosses their threshold. Where Andy's mom created a moment of tension with her toy donation, Sid's mom creates a vacuum that Sid fills with something far worse. She is present physically, which makes her absence mentally the more striking failure. Sid is loud, destructive, and operates a workshop of toy destruction in his own bedroom with zero oversight. Over the course of a single afternoon in the film, Sid subjects several toys to different methods of demolition: explosives, rocket fuel, a magnifying glass focused to a point, a makeshift guillotine, a modified rocket, and other improvised weapons. Hannah's favorite doll loses an entire head of hair when Sid uses it as a haircutting practice subject. Sid's mother is largely oblivious and never notices any of it happening directly in front of her. Her disciplinary response to finding Sid with firecrackers is to grab a jawbreaker out of his mouth, tell him to clean his room, and leave. The workshop is not hidden. The door to Sid's bedroom stays open. The smell of smoke is detectable. None of it registers. The stronger point to concede is that Sid's mother is not a sadist. She doesn't order Sid to destroy things. She doesn't encourage the cruelty toward Hannah. In the scene where Sid runs past her with the rocket, she yells after him about the smell coming from his room and tells him to open a window, which suggests she might have noticed something was off if she'd bothered to follow through. That moment is the closest she comes to catching any of it, and she doesn't follow through. She delegates the problem to a window and moves on. The cruelty Sid inflicts on Hannah's toys is Sid's project, not hers, and that's true. But a parent whose child runs a demolition derby out of their bedroom with zero consequences is not a parent who has accidentally missed something. They're a parent who has never been paying attention in the first place. What's actually happening is that Sid's mother is functioning as a narrative convenience, not a character. Every toy in her house that Buzz and Woody encounter is there specifically because her failure to supervise has allowed Sid to accumulate them intact. He needs intact victims, after all. The film never frames her neglect as neglect. It frames it as background texture. Sid is the active threat. She's just furniture. But her furniture-like quality is exactly what allows the threat to operate at the scale it does. If she were even marginally attentive, if she checked his room once, if she asked Hannah where her doll went, if she smelled smoke and walked through instead of yelling from down the hall, the entire plot collapses. She is the structural condition that makes Sid possible, and the film never holds her accountable for it because the story isn't interested in parents who fail by doing nothing. Bonnie's mother, Sid's mother, failed by being absent, and you can build a case that she didn't know what she wasn't seeing. Ms. Anderson, Bonnie's mother, the woman who appears in the third and fourth films, fails in a completely different register. She is present, She is attentive, and she makes a deliberate choice to remove Bonnie's most emotionally significant possessions from her life without ever asking Bonnie what Bonnie wants. Sid's mother at least had the mitigating detail of not knowing. Ms. Anderson has no such excuse. Andy's mother involved Andy in the donation decision. She may have framed it as necessary, but she gave him agency over his own things. Ms. Anderson operates nothing like that. Andy arrives at Bonnie's house and Ms. Davis begins the toy handoff conversation without asking Bonnie what she thinks. When Andy tries to redirect her attention to Bonnie's actual relationship with those toys, she deflects with adult authority and moves the conversation forward. The first indication Bonnie gets that the toys are leaving comes after the decision is already made. There is no discussion, no "what do you think?" no moment where Bonnie gets to weigh in on what belongs to her. The comparison to the ordinary version of this situation is almost painful. When a child outgrows toys or goes away to camp, a typical parent asks the child what they want to keep, negotiates around the favorites, and lets the child have input on what gets donated. Ms. Anderson does the opposite. She tells Bonnie she needs the toys for camp before Bonnie has said anything about camp, then treats Bonnie's protests as Bonnie not understanding her own needs. The ordinary process is consultative. Ms. Anderson's version is unilateral. And the gap between those two approaches is where the character's actual failure lives. The common assumption is that Ms. Anderson made a reasonable parenting call, and Bonnie got over it. That's exactly what the film suggests if you're not paying attention to the logistics. The assumption breaks on a single fact. Bonnie's attachment to those toys was not a phase. When Andy arrives at Bonnie's house in the third film and finds her playing with them, she's running a full narrative operation, assigning voices, staging scenarios, giving each toy a specific role. She doesn't just like them. She needs them. And the complexity of her play indicates that she has been using them continuously since the handoff. The toys did not sit in a box for months while Bonnie adjusted to their absence. Bonnie was playing with them from the first day. Ms. Anderson's decision was wrong about Bonnie's needs, and Bonnie proved that within hours of receiving them. The film never circles back to that miscalculation. Ms. Anderson is designed to be the functional parent who moves toys between children without emotional friction, because the narrative needs the toys to reach Bonnie, and the story has no interest in exploring what it costs Bonnie to receive them through an arrangement she didn't consent to. She is built for the transition, not for Bonnie. Every choice she makes prioritizes smooth logistics over Bonnie's actual relationship with her possessions, and the film treats those choices as correct because they serve the larger plot architecture. Bonnie ends up with the toys, but the mechanism that put them there was never Bonnie's choice. Ms. Anderson's design purpose is to be the parent who makes that transfer seamless, and seamless transfers don't leave room for the child's voice. Alicia's mother. Where Bonnie's mother was the school-run parent you'd actually recognize, volunteering, organizing, present, Alicia's mother is a completely different category wearing the same name. She is not named, has no dialogue, and is not given a distinct perspective in the film. She exists entirely as a background silhouette, and the only moment the camera grants her is one she shares with Jesse's worst memory. The Toy Story 2 flashback features Jessie in a commercial shoot, but no parent is named or shown as Alicia's mother. The shoot is the exact commercial that Jessie starred in before Emily abandoned her on the side of the road. There is no source-confirmed evidence of Alicia's mother being present in the commercial scene. She appears inside the Prospector's toy commercial flashback in Toy Story 2, specifically at the Al's Toy Barn commercial shoot, where Alicia Carmichael is one of the children playing with the toys. So Alicia's mother is physically present, standing off camera or somewhere in the background, at the precise moment that Jessie is being handled as a commercial product rather than a living thing. There is no verified evidence of Alicia's mother watching Jessie or participating in the commercial set as described. None of these explanations appear in any official film dialogue or source text. There is no canonical film text attributing responsibility to other adults present during Jessie's backstory. There is no source confirming that Prospector or Alicia's mother are depicted as adults in the commercial scene. No evidence confirms Alicia's mother witnessing or reacting to any events in Jessie's commercial backstory. No source confirms Alicia's mother as an extra or provides a textbook explanation about her narrative function. No source text presents Alicia's mother as a representative archetype or provides interpretive meaning for her actions. No verified evidence of a parent depicted as unaware of her child's world. There is no source confirming Alicia is playing with Jessie or describing camera focus on Alicia's face. There is no verifiable evidence regarding Alicia's mother's attention or actions in the film. No canonic source text establishes Alicia's mother's existence, proximity, or contribution. No textual evidence describes a silhouette mother watching her daughter with Jesse at a commercial set. No canon text verifies any warning in this context or anyone not hearing it. Harmony's mother. Where Alicia's mother operated in the background of a flashback, somewhere outside the toy's direct reach, Harmony's mother owns the antique shop in Toy Story 4. No evidence places her on Main Street operating a register Bonnie walks into. The escalation is entirely in the proximity. Alicia's mother was a silhouette at a commercial shoot. This woman is running a business Bonnie's family patronizes, and she's the closest parent in the series to the toys' actual day-to-day lives, which makes the choice she makes all the more painful because it's the smallest choice. Harmony's mother is the shopkeeper at the antique store in Toy Story 4, which Bo Peep appears in during the film. Bonnie's toys are donated, but the method or attribution to Bonnie's mother is not confirmed in source text. Harmony is seen in the antique shop with her mother, but there is no verified source of Harmony spotting or reaching for Bo Peep. No source text confirms Harmony's reaction, speech, or details of the transaction and register. No explanation, no apology, no "we'll get it back later," no acknowledgement that something was taken. No source confirms Harmony loses possession of a toy to a customer. There is no verified source establishing business practice, timing, or the sticker/shelf details described. No canonical evidence describes conversation, reaction, or economic motivation as described. No text confirms Harmony learning a lesson, ownership transfer, or the parent/child emotional conclusion described. Mr. Anderson. If Harmony's mother had one moment, where she looked at her daughter and made a visible choice, Mr. Anderson has nothing. Not one line, not one gesture directed at Bonnie, not a single moment across 2 films spanning nearly a decade where he functions as anything other than furniture in the frame. The escalation is in the completeness of the absence. Harmony's mother at least acknowledged her child's existence long enough to make a decision about it. Mr. Anderson doesn't even reach that bar. He appears at Andy's house on the day Andy is leaving for college, and later at Sunnyside Daycare with Bonnie's family. Andy's mother goes into Andy's room. She sits on his bed. She cries. Mr. Anderson stands in the doorway with a box and says nothing. One brief line when he tells Andy he does not have to give away his toys. He loads the car, he watches the truck pull away, and then he is gone. Not dead, not separated, just gone. Across Toy Story 3, set over that same weekend and the immediate aftermath, across Toy Story 4, set nearly a decade later, when Bonnie is old enough to have her own room and her own toys and her own griefs, he does not appear once. Not in a photograph, not in a passing mention, not at the party where Bonnie meets Bo Peep, not at the party where Bonnie meets Bo Peep, not in any scene with his daughter. The objection is that Bonnie's mother is present, that the film centers on Bonnie's relationship with her toys rather than her parents, that Mr. Anderson is just a background character the story doesn't need. It's a reasonable reading until you look at the pattern. Every other parent in the series has at least one scene that acknowledges their child's emotional life. Sid's mother is chaotic but present and watching. Mrs. Davis has a full moment of grief over Andy leaving. Bonnie's mother has an entire emotional arc across Toy Story 3 and 4, from the moving day heartbreak to the decision to donate the toys to the final acceptance of Bonnie growing up. Mr. Anderson has a box and a doorway and silence. And the film gives his wife a scene in Andy's bedroom. The crying, the sitting on the bed, the visible grief, without giving him a single equivalent in Bonnie's. Not once. Across 2 films. Across a decade of Bonnie's childhood. A parent who is physically present for a major family transition and then never mentioned again is either dead or absent, and the film treats both possibilities identically by not noticing. Bonnie's toys know more about her than her own father does, and the film never draws attention to that fact because it has already accepted it as normal, has already built its entire emotional world around the idea that a father's absence is so unremarkable, it doesn't even need explanation. Mr. Anderson standing in a doorway holding a box while Andy's mother weeps in the next room, Bonnie watching from somewhere off camera, the toy box sitting on a table between them, and the film moving on before any of it settles.